All my life I prayed for a book like you. So this book is a young adult and new adult, whichever way you want to tag it. I tag it as young adult, slightly new adult. Contemporary novel about two characters. Carter Reynolds, who is featured on this lovely cover, who was born out of wedlock, and his literal phrase is written on the book, "I was born a bastard and I'll die a bastard." So Carter's sort of general backstory is that he was born out of wedlock, and when his mother took him when he was about 5 to his grandparents, and back then this was a time when bastards were a bit sort of hush-hush, taboo sort of thing. His grandfather told him, basically, you're a bastard, you're nothing but a bastard, and we don't want you in this house. So the mother left, and flash forward 16 or 17 years, we witness Carter. He's a bit of a troublemaker, he's bad boy to the bone, and his mother has remarried to the guy that he names Prick. Well, it's named something else, but for the purpose of this video, I'll be calling the father Prick, as Carter does. Carter is one of my favourite characters in this book, and his love interest is Indy, or Indiana Montgomery, who is from an affluent, closed-in neighbourhood where they moved to. And her mother died when she was young from brain cancer, I believe. And it's just been her and her father. And so Carter and his mother and his new stepfather move in next door. And so they sort of meet, and it's a story of them interacting with each other, falling in love, and other stuff. So that's the general premise of this book. I highly recommend it. I really, really love this book. 5 out of 5 stars, a buy it rating from me. I really did love Carter and Indy's relationship and the progression and pacing of this book. So if that is my general recommendation. And now let's move on to the sort of in-depth thoughts of it. So this book was really long. It's a really hefty book. It's over 300 pages. Oh, hello. This is a full drawing of Carter, and let me just say that this was the first thing that drew my mind to this book. Also the cover. This was a cover purchase, basically. Like, I bought this from Book Expo, and immediately I saw the cover, I was like, drawn like a moth to a flame. And I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing in this case, but it was a good thing. I loved the story, I loved the characters, I loved the progression, the pacing, the twists, the turns. So let's get into it. So the beginning starts off, as I said before, Carter going to his grandfathers and grandmothers, and basically his grandfather saying, "You're nothing but a bastard." And they leave, and he has done a lot of stuff in his life which he had to do to gain money because they were very poor. Like, he mentioned that he had to was getting paid to sleep with the landlady, I think it was, that was in the building that they lived in. And he was only like 16, 15 when that happened. He's had a rough life, and so when his mother marries this dude who's nice to her but a prick behind the mother's back to Carter, which is why he nicknamed him Prick, or whatever the real name of him is in this book. And he basically moves to this neighbourhood. He meets Indy, and at first they get on not really well. He's a bit of a smartass, he's a jackass, he's rude to her, but it's only because, you know, he wants to push anyone away. He's, like he said, he's a bastard and he'll die a bastard. But slowly Indy sort of breaks down and brings out this feeling, kind of that he's never felt before, and he starts to become more of a good character. Like, I loved Carter, really. Now, Carter has a lot of flaws. He is a very flawed character. And it's really just that. It's really just him. His flaws relate to his past. He is loud. He is brash. He is honest, and I found that really refreshing. Because in the majority of young adult novels that I've met, the guys who are around 17 or 18 either don't swear or swear under their breath. They're not very, I guess they're not very teenagery. They act more like an adult sort of thing, where Carter is just full on adult but reckless sort of teen adult person. His speech pattern is fantastic. He bloody hell, like the first page when he just speaks like a teenage boy would speak, and it's really nice to just refreshing to hear, not that you're beautiful. It's like, well, she's a catch and a half. She's hot as hell, and a few other phrases. And just that characterization really drew me into Carter, because I love books where swearing is not one to be held under the breath. It's okay to swear in books. Like, if a character is like 18, 19, 17, it is okay to swear. You don't have to, like some of these books do, hide it under their breath or something. It's okay. And that's what I really enjoyed, is that this book was adult and young adult at the same time, which makes it one of my favourite books of the year. As also, I really loved how Carter's sort of taken Indy by off guard, and by, how different but how similar they are. Moving on to Indy, I didn't really like Indy that much. Like, in the first couple of chapters, she was alright. She did sort of slag Carter off a bit, especially when he's like telling her about all the stuff that he had to go through as a person to basically support his mum. She was basically very judgmental about that. And after they spend the night together, which is really, really hot, I did like that scene in the book. He basically said, look, I'm leaving. And she's like, well, I don't feel anything. I don't feel any deeper feelings. I just want you to just have me. And if you leave, then I won't care. And so it happens. He leaves, and she basically realised, I can't live without him. And at that point, I really just was like, oh, well, I don't know what you expected different, honey. He sort of said he was leaving when he turned 18, so, and you said it was okay, so, yeah, that was one thing I really didn't like. Another thing is that in one of the later chapters, after he returns, there's a 5-year time skip, after he returns and a lot of stuff goes down, a few months later, after all the stuff, like them reuniting and everything, basically, because he's been called a bastard, Carter never wants a child to be born out of wedlock of his own, so the child doesn't endure what Carter had to growing up. And I think that is very reasonable for a person who has been stigmatised by one word all their life. Not to have their children stigmatised by that word is very admirable. But situations happen, and Indy ends up getting pregnant out of wedlock. And he basically proposes to her on the spot. Now, it's not that he doesn't love Indy. He adores Indy in this book. Like, Indy is his ray of sunshine. But Indy gets up and is like, you're only marrying me because we have this child and you don't want to be born out of wedlock. Bitch! He has been stigmatized by this whole entire boy's entire life. I think that bears a little bit of understanding. So that was one thing that really caught me off. I really didn't like about Indy, is that she kind of was just like, you know what, well, in our day and age, bastards aren't a big deal. There's a lot of bastards. But no, honey, when one person has been stigmatized their whole entire life by one word, and there is so much post-traumatic stress disorder from that one experience, you do not just say, get over it, and, if you want to marry me for love. He does love you. It's just that this thing has come up that he is reacting to. So I can see faults on both sides in that situation, but I really did go with Carter on this one. And a few other things with this is that the plotline for Indy when she gets cancer. So I'm going to put a spoiler warning right here because this is one of the major plot things, but I would have put a spoiler warning at the beginning of the video anyway. So one of the plots is that when Indy's mum, who developed cancer, passed away, she, near the end, probably around the last 10 chapters, does develop cancer herself. And that was really predictable. I could see that happening from the first chapter in. Once her mum had mentioned it, so I'm like, okay, when does this whole cancer come back to haunt Indy thing happen? But it was really written beautifully. I couldn't really read that bit like straight through. I had to break it up within parts because I have had that experience with people dying with cancer and I really didn't like reading about it. But it was good. Like, it was great character development, and overall, throughout all the faults with all the characters and whatever else, this was a really enjoyable read and I really did love it. The side characters as well were really mentionable. Like, there were a few cardboard cutouts, such as the best friend and the generic third love interest for Indy, who was really just a bully jock person. And then you had the father and the mother. Indy's father and Carter's mother. And that, you could see that happening. Like, there was tons of things you could predict in this book, but it's written in such a way that just takes you by surprise. The father of Indy was really cool. I really loved him, his character, and the way he just took Carter under his wing and just gave Carter something he's never had. His mum was really good. She didn't get a ton of characterization, but I really did love Carter's mother. His prick of a stepfather was really satisfying to read about when he eventually probably does get he gets his comeuppance, and it was very satisfying, so satisfying for that father to get his comeuppance. But shout out to the two minor characters as well. Like I said, the best friend for Indy was sort of a cardboard cutout. Jax, who is Carter's best friend, and his sort of love interest Cadence were really good characters as well. I was really drawn to Jax as a character as well, so I can't wait to read that book that's coming out in the next few years. So after I finished this book, I emailed the author about this book and doing a review, and she asked me if I wanted a bonus chapter for this, and I got the bonus chapter. So after this book ends and you just need more, this bonus chapter is so good. Like, it just expands on the ending, which was it wrapped up in a tiny little bow, but you just left wanting more. And this chapter was really good. It tells about Carter and Indy's future as they start up a family and all the problems that come with that, and it was just really good seeing Carter go from this sort of bastard to a nice guy to a tattoo artist with a family, and then his family drama is all explained in sort of this book, this sort of short bonus chapter. And if you've read the bonus chapter and the book, or the book and the bonus chapter, being released this year was the novella called Luckiest Bastard, and I was sent an advance reader copy of it, and I've read a bit of it and I really loved it, but I haven't read all of it and I really want to get around to reading it because apparently it's like a Christmas story, so I'm going to read it around Christmas, when it comes closer to Christmas actually. But yeah, that was my review of Bastard by J.L. Perry. I will be trying to pick up her books, her other series, because I need more of her writing, and she's releasing another book called Hooker, and then there's Jax and Case's story, and it's all just coming. It's raining down books on me. So I thought this was a really good book, 5 out of 5 stars, and I would totally recommend it to anyone. So thank you for watching. Shout out to J.L. Perry for providing me with the bonus chapter for this, so I could do this review. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!